basically civil service is the service where the people run the government along with the public representatives. I feel that there is no service like Indian administrative services. It gives you a lot of opportunities to perform, as I have already said. It gives you a lot of opportunities to contribute to the society. You work in the policy space. There is a whole world to learn new things. Success is not a milestone. It keeps on changing. It is a path. So you progress towards success, or you will have a number of milestones, you can say like that.
Where did you start your career journey from?
So my first posting was Sub-Divisional Magistrate Byawar, but we have to do 2-year training also. So after completing the foundation course from Lal Bahadur Shastri Academy in Mussoorie, my field training was in Udaipur district for around 9 to 10 months, and then my first posting was in Byawar. So it is a subdivision of Ajmer district, not very far away from Jaipur. And I worked there for 2 years, and being an SDM and SDO, that is the sub-divisional magistrate and sub-divisional officer, it gives you a lot of insight into how exactly the government systems work and how the government schemes are delivered in the field. And so I used to tour quite a lot and used to have discussion with the grassroots public representatives and the grassroots field functionaries of government administration, particularly the revenue administration. So it gives you a very good insight, and I had a reasonably stable tenure there. That was my grounding area.
So how was your early days as an officer, and what all changes did you feel in life post becoming an officer?
So the initial days when you get into the government system, so there is a very peculiar kind of structure under which the government system functions. So initially you find yourself nowhere, like how the files are being moved and how the proposals are being made and how you request for the budgets and how the grants are allocated to the particular office where you are working, and then how you spend the money under different schemes, how you select the beneficiaries. So this is something entirely new for a person like who completed his education, went to the college, who completed the college, and then now you are thrown into this big world of government administration where you have to work along with large number of stakeholders. And particularly you have to deal first with the beneficiary himself or herself, then with the public representatives, then there are different line departments. You have to deal with the drinking water department, you have to deal with the electricity department, the medical health department, the education department, fisheries, agriculture. So there are large number of departments. So in the manner in which the whole government system works, the different organizations or different arms of the government works in the field. So the first biggest challenge was to get the knack of the functions of different line departments, but in due course you learn. And after learning, then actual test comes, that now how you put your efforts into it and how you are able to perform better, so that you are finally able to deliver the goods to the society or to the beneficiaries, or you can make a dent in the different organizational setup of the government, like how you can improve the schools, like by ensuring good teaching or providing good infrastructure like drinking water, electricity, toilets to the schools, or like the nutrition issues in the ICDS and immunization in the health department. So, but 2 years is quite sufficient a period. You spend 3-4 months in learning things because that is your first assignment. Then you learn and then you start delivering. And after that, when you become either, I became CO Jilla Parishad after that. So now you are handling a district, not a subdivision. So that is a focal point where you have to interact with the Panchayat Raj representatives, the elected representatives. You prepare a district level plan and then you implement it, and you discuss and debate and engage with different stakeholders, and then you become district collector. Then you rise up above in the administrative hierarchy, you become secretary. So whatever you learn, whatever were your experiences, so they all help you in now devising the policies or changing the policies, modifying them to evaluate the policies. So I think the manner in which the service is being structured is reasonably good, but you find a lot of constraints. You have to change yourself also. You have to learn new things. You have to learn new skills. You have to learn negotiating. You have to learn convincing people about the right things. Because on the face of it, in the short term, sometimes people would feel that this is not the right decision being taken by the collector or the sub-divisional officer. But you have to convince them that why in the long run this is the better thing to do for the development of the area, or why this is the right thing to select the beneficiaries in such manner, and why in certain cases that we are not able to perform or deliver. Why? Because government is also constrained by both capacity and the capacity in terms of the HR which is available with you, the human resources which are available with you, with the institutions along with which you work, and constraint as regard to the funds or budget which is available. So you have to do best within these, working within these constraints. So you have to convince these things also. So a lot of it is not only about managing the budget, or it is not only about spending money. It is more about convincing people, selecting the right beneficiaries, so that you are, at the end of the day, you are able to get the best outcome of in whatever constraints you are being asked to work or you are working into. But you learn in due course about all these things.
So what all departments have you handled in your course of career?
Okay, like apart from working as district collector, like I've worked as district collector in 5 districts. But when you talk about departments, I would like to mention a few. Like I have worked in the water resources department, I have worked in energy department, chaired a corporation. I was chairman of Rajasthan Renewable Energy Corporation. Then I have worked in social justice department, and I have spent a lot of time in the mines and minerals department. I have worked in the revenue department, that is land revenue department. I had few stints in the finance department too, both at the level of the HOD, and I have worked in the secretariat finance department also.
So what's that one thing you love about your profession the most?
Indian administrative service, like it gives you a lot of opportunities. My point is that everything depends ultimately that how do you want to utilize those opportunities to perform and deliver. And it is not at all a cakewalk. Like you come to your office, you sit in your chamber, you dispose the files which come to you, that anyone can do. So if you are into that mode of working and functioning, then you will be doing the routine work. But IAS gives you the opportunity to actually go beyond the mandate, understand the issues, the real problems. It gives you opportunity to devise your own solution sometimes. Maybe not in terms of the schemes which you can devise in the initial period of service, like in the initial 10-15 years, but how you can redesign the implementation of the scheme, how you start monitoring these schemes differently, how you engage with people. You can actually go into the field and sit along with the beneficiaries, the villagers, or the people living in the urban areas if it involves urban issues, and you can really make an impact. You can bring in a lot of change in implementation of these schemes. And another thing, at the later stage in the service, like currently I am at the policy level, having spent around 25 years in Indian administrative services. So now you can really make change in the policy thinking of the government. But for that, the utmost thing is that you yourself should be more skilled. You never stop learning, because now there is whole world to learn new things. Lot of different things and innovations keep on happening like every day in different states, in the private sector. Like if you talk about like health, then different states are doing a lot of good work in the health sector, in the government sector. A lot of new things are happening in the private sector, in the health sector in terms of healthcare or health services. Same is with education. Same is in the infrastructure sector. Same is in the water delivery sector or in the sanitation issues. A lot of innovations are happening in the IT sector. Government is also using information technology like to completely re-engineer its business processes. So you have to be completely aware what all is happening around, and IAS gives you good opportunity. It gives you a lot of chances. It gives you a lot of scope to actually dig deep, get into these innovations or new things which are happening, imbibe them and try to get them somewhere in the government processes for better delivery and better outcomes. I don't think any other service provides you with such kind of opportunity. So that is the best thing. And you interact with like varied kind of people. You interact with academicians, you interact with industry experts, you interact with public representatives at the highest level, you interact with a lot of different organs of civil society, like you interact with NGOs, you interact with voluntary agencies which are working, say, for like sometimes for a period of 10 and 15 years, and who have been highly instrumental in bringing a lot of changes in number of public policies which have been finally announced by the government both at the center and at the state. So it is a big canvas. There is a lot of scope in this service. So that is the best aspect. You never get bored. So there is a time you are in the energy department, there is a time you are in the mines department, then you are in the social justice department, you are in the education department, and when you get into a new department, like I always take it as a challenge and I try to learn about the sector to the best possible extent. And so that learning process itself is very exciting. I find it very exciting.
So who is your mentor?
See, again, like what inspires you. So my answer lies there only, what inspires me. So my mentor, and what I personally feel is that you are very lucky if you find some person as your mentor. But these days, information, knowledge and wisdom is so ubiquitously available. Like it is available everywhere. You have got a lot of literature, a lot of information on the internet, on the web. All colleges and universities have their own websites about what is the latest research going on. Then there are a lot of industry organizations, a lot of industry researches going on. Then there are a lot of organizations who are into public policy research. So I consider like this whole gamut of information which is available as my mentor. So, and then a lot of experts are there. Say for example, you are in the revenue department. So then you will find some, or maybe some officer, or maybe some public representative, some minister in some state who spent a lot of time in that particular sector and brought in a lot of changes, like in terms of the land reforms in that state. So for that particular aspect, that person may become your mentor. So sometimes you read a good research paper, some good case study in some particular sector. That particular literature would become your mentor sometimes. But my point is that ultimately now you know what you are doing, like you are on the right track or not. If you are open to discussion, you are open to information and knowledge which is coming to you, if you respond to that knowledge, like if you asked me number of questions in last half an hour. So for certain things you will be my mentor. So I'll pick up 1 or 2 points. So it is more like that these days, because every person has some kind of limitations. I have a lot of limitations, you have a lot of limitations. But I have certain points which are my forte. Like I am strong in these particular points. You must be strong, maybe in terms of knowledge or taking decisions, considering the situation or circumstances in which you are put into. Sometimes your juniors or subordinates becomes your mentor, like how he or she handle that particular law and order situation. So they are the person to look up to. So it goes more like that these days. So keeping my family apart, family is always first. Your close-knit family members always inspire you more to do something more and achieve more. So it is, but I am inspired the most by Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. The manner in which Steve Jobs had ideas in his mind and he kept on struggling. He created a lot of new products and he was very clear about his own ideas and the design which his product should have and what all he should incorporate into his equipments or instruments, whatever he devised. So he is one of the person who, and his basic, the most inspiring personality trait is that he never let things go. He always tried to achieve whatever he thought about it. So that's it.
What is your definition of success and what is the role of smart work, hard work and luck according to you to achieve success?
See, regarding work, first I will talk about it. So it is always about smart work. There is a student who is studying for like 10 hours in a day. And there is a student who is studying only 4 hours in a day. But if the student number 1 is not having proper guidance, is not into studying right things, whatever his aim or objective is to pass a particular exam or to clear any entrance examination. So if not properly guided, if not into the right things to achieve the objectives, so that is not going to deliver you much good at the end of the day. So it is always about smart work, prioritizing your work, because I can give you n number of examples and there is always an argument. So it is something like that if you talk about the financial markets. So if there is an investor who invests smartly, so his even 4 or 5 minutes of exercise of delving deep into the issue and then making the right decision and weighing his or her risks and rewards and then investing money can make millions within 5 minutes. But there is another guy who is into a different kind of profession. Even spending not only 5 minutes, but even spending 5 months would not deliver into such kind of, if we talk about wealth, would not be able to garner such amount of wealth. So it is always what you are doing, where your skills lie, how you prioritize your tasks or whatever you are doing, how much time you are able to devote into that particular aspect. That is the whole game. That is my understanding. So always work smart. Hard work would come subsequently. Sometimes we keep on doing lot of hard work, but we are not able to achieve the objectives like that. So it is about work. I always believe in being more smart because even in the government system, if I want to work 15 hours a day out of 24 hours, so even 15 hours would be too short a period for me to do everything. But ultimately then I have to prioritize that these are the 5 or 10 most important things where I should be focusing more, and these another 10-15 things I can leave it to my team or to my subordinates to delve, where my thinking has to go, where my time has to go. It is always about that. That is my understanding about how to prioritize work and how to work smart. 1. Number 2, regarding success. So what I feel is that success is not a milestone. It keeps on changing. It is a path. So you progress towards success, or you will have a number of milestones, you can say like that. So when you are in 10th standard, so your success is that if I score 90+% in my board exams, I am a successful person. So if you are in 12th, if I get into IIT or medical college, or if I am able to then do my CA, or if I am able to subsequently do my MBA or master's post-graduation, so that is success for me. Getting into IAS, so okay, you have got into IAS finally, so that counts as a success for me. So the definition of success, the criteria keeps on changing. So it is always what you are aspiring to achieve. So success is not a single milestone, it is a path. And on that, I would say that success also has like two different categories. What you consider success in your personal life and in your work life. So in your personal life, success is ultimately that how happy you are, how satisfied you are. So that is the most primary thing which one has to think. If at the end of the day, doing n number of things, having best of the positions, being known as the most popular person, or if you are famous on media, or if you are famous otherwise, like famous as a good officer, or if you are a powerful person, but if at the end of the day, if you are not satisfied and if you are not happy, then it is not a successful life. So if you are happy, if you are satisfied, if you are able to fulfill your responsibilities towards the family, towards your extended family, or towards the community, that is what I call success in personal life. And when you move out of personal life, in the work life, ultimately, what impact you have been able to make in the society, into the community, that is your success. So even if you are very intelligent, if you are hardworking, if you are working 15-16 hours in a day, you are in your office, you are trying to dispose of things, you are like, even if you are sitting at the most powerful positions where you can actually make things happen, but if you are not able to create impact into your organization or into the society. Say for example, like if I am like currently heading the tax board, like I am Chairman Tax Board. So if I am not able to actually understand the issues, I may be disposing like 20 cases every day, sitting in the bench, hearing to the counselors, the advocates, and then finally disposing the matter. If I am not able to understand the issues and give the relief to the needy, so then it is not a success. Maybe in terms of numbers, so it is fine that I have been able to perform, but ultimately the whole ecosystem for which I am working, like I have to dispose the tax related matters, I have to understand that whether the tax demands or the penalties being imposed have been unnecessarily raised or created, whether there was any kind of fault of the dealer or the industry. So that is the actual impact. And if I am only disposing 5 cases, but if I am able to do true justice with the work, that is the impact I am creating. So it works that way in all the departments in the government system. So if like I am in the, I was Chairman Renewable Energy Corporation. So if we came out with a good policy which was very well taken by the investor community, and a lot of investment has also come into the state, and another big chunk is in the process. So if I am able to create a kind of ecosystem which has created impact into the business community and ultimately to the whole renewable sector as such, like combating the global carbon emissions or increasing the volume of the injection of green energy into the grid. So that is the impact which I have made. So that is the true definition of success according to me. And you, like, another point is that you should, at the personal level also, you should be growing every day. Like ultimately you have to keep on learning, you have to keep on growing, gaining new skills, and then utilizing those skills both for your like personal success and making more impact wherever you are working. So success is like that according to me.
So if you were able to get hold of time machine, which phase of your life would you like to roll back?
I think for most of us it would be the early childhood. So because you have fond memories, sometimes you had tough time also, but perhaps the human brain is developed like that. As far as childhood is concerned, you remember a lot of good things which you did or a lot of good time which you had. So you would always want to relive those times with your old friends and because you didn't have much understanding about like how people are judging. As a child, we do anything. So then we are told that no, it is not the right thing which you are doing. You should not be doing it. It is not what. So once you have done it, then you are told about it. So that is the beauty of childhood. You never cared that the world is being judgmental about you. And your mind was free, and whatever you wanted to do, you did that. So that freedom, certainly I would like to relive again.
So what are your major achievements as an officer?
As I have said that water is my passion. I worked as Secretary Water Resources in the state government. During that period, we designed a lot of water resources related schemes. There were irrigation schemes and there were drinking water related schemes also. And we came out with the concept of like integrated water resources management. We were working with an international donor agency. So we came out with a concept of like sustainable management of water resources. That was something new which we added into water resources management. So that I consider as my achievement in the sense that I tried and I was able to give a different kind of direction to water resources management in the state. Initially, it used to be engineers driven. So we gave it a different kind of concept, like more based on social sciences, like we should be concerned about actually the true stakeholders. Like we tried to enforce the participatory irrigation management concept in some of our canal irrigation projects in the state, and we received award in our Narmada irrigation project. I received the national award in that period. Then another period was like working in the renewable energy sector. So we came out with a policy which was well appreciated across the country, and like many states have copied a lot of parts of that policy into their own state policy for promotion of renewable energy. And I think the investment which has been committed into the state for renewable energy generation projects like goes up to 1 lakh crore rupees. So we created a good ground for it, and like all the big companies, you name them and they are in Rajasthan now. Either they are implementing their projects or they are into the process of conceiving the projects in the state of Rajasthan. So I consider that as major achievements. And third certainly was the mining sector. I have worked in mining sector for around 4 years, and so again we focused on prospecting of new mineral deposits, and the new mineral deposits in different categories which we prospected during that period. So today, like an investment of more than 20,000 crore rupees sitting on those mineral deposits. So it has brought in a lot of investment, has given direct and indirect employment to large number of people of the state, and it has given a boost to the state economy. So these are 3 different sectors. Then there are a few other things here and there.
So what are your roles and responsibility as Chairman Rajasthan Tax Board?
So in Tax Board, basically an appellate authority where we listen to the orders passed by like Deputy Commissioner of Appeal, who hears the assessment orders passed by the assessing authority in the various tax departments. Like so, mostly we are dealing with the cases of the Sales Tax Act, the VAT regime, the excise related issues we hear, then Stamp and Registration Act related cases we hear. So these are the cases where the demands which have been created on the business houses or with the dealers, if they are not satisfied with the kind of penalties imposed or the tax liabilities which have been created by the assessing authorities of these various line departments, they come to us. And the main idea is that to examine those cases, to listen to both the sides, the state and the business side, and then pass on the final decision. So our idea is like, because a lot of litigation and disputes get created merely because of the interpretation of the provisions of the law, and particularly in the Sales Tax Act, that is now, though GST has replaced the VAT Act, so, and we have the cases related to VAT Act, the value added tax regime. So under the VAT regime, there are a lot of litigation which are related to like the classification of the commodities. and whether they should fall into the 5% category or they should fall into the 18.5 or 15% rate of tax. So what we basically, I have got 5 members also, I am the chairman of the board. So we try to understand the issues, and wherever required, relief if it is needed to be given to the business dealers, it has to go to them, and if the demand has been rightfully created, then we uphold the version of the state also. But the basic idea is the whole tax administration system, ultimately it works on trust. And if there was bona fide on part of the businessman, and only because of from the point of the wrongful interpretation or wrongful wording of some of the notifications, the demand has been created, then we certainly then try to offset those demands.
So you have worked in various capacities, including Principal Secretary, Chairman, Secretary, Commissioner, Collector and District Magistrate. Which one was your all-time favorite and why?
Working in field is interesting from a different perspective, that you engage with a lot of people, you engage with different line departments, you engage directly with the citizens, both in the rural areas and in the urban areas, and you get to know about why sometimes the government schemes fail in the field. So you learn about, that is your first-hand experience, and you get an opportunity to implement these schemes better. That is interesting in a different manner. But certainly what becomes more interesting later on is when you work at the policy level. So as I have mentioned that I have really loved in working in the water resources sector, in the energy sector, in the mines and mineral sector, which are the, like when you talk about water sector. So water sector is again an all-encompassing sector. Water as a right is very important for livelihood, for drinking purposes, for your residential or domestic use. Water is very essential even for the industry. So it is very important for the economy as such also. It is very important for agriculture. Energy again. Energy also has varying kind of impacts in different sectors of the economy and the society. So these are the sectors where if you are able to bring in any kind of positive change, then these sectors have got huge impact, socio-economic impacts. So that was these 3 sectors like water, energy and mines. I found them to be very exciting, and we had been able to do a lot of good things also into it. Because working at a policy level, then you are able to make a larger impact. Working in the field like as district collector or CEO Jilla Parishad, you are able to create an impact only in a small geographical area. But that gives you a very good learning experience.
So what was the most challenging task of your career?
One category I would define is like when you have to work under constraints, it becomes very difficult. Like I was district collector in Badmer district, which is a border district, it borders Pakistan. So it was hit by acute famine when I was district collector there. And now the problem is that the water sources are very limited there. Agricultural growth, like there is very small area of land of whole of the district which is culturable. Fodder shortage was very acute. The problem then becomes is now from where to source them. Like we used to procure from Maharashtra, and there was a time when we procured a fodder train like from as far as from Bihar. So working under constraints become very difficult, particularly when the sources are not available with you. So it happens that like even if you've got a lot of budget, even if government has given you a lot of funds to make arrangements, it becomes next to impossible sometimes to make those arrangements. And even if you go ahead with making those arrangements, then it requires a lot of time. And by then, a lot of damage would have happened in the area where you are working. So this becomes very challenging. And it's certainly like, but same is like with disaster management. But ultimately with good teamwork and having good negotiating skills, you are able to surpass those obstacles and finally deliver. This is category 1. Category 2 is like what I personally feel is that sometimes it becomes difficult to convince your higher ups for things which you feel that they are the right things to be done. It may be like for taking some kind of decision in implementing something, or how things should happen, how we should be going ahead with doing certain thing in the like in the government setup. Sometimes it becomes very difficult to convince higher ups. So you will feel pain sometimes, but ultimately with continuous like negotiation and getting after the things and putting your point across, and then you have to give presentations and seek time, and then you have to move your files time and again, then give more justification. So that becomes challenge sometimes, but otherwise I have been able to do whatever I thought about.
So any heart-touching incidents from your career life? Any professional heart-touching incidents?
I very well remember an incident when I was again Collector District. So I went to a village which is very close to Pakistan border. So I was just asking that, are you getting all the benefits under different schemes, like are you getting the fodder for your cattle, or is the water tanker coming to your village, or are the proper medicinal supplies are there, or are medical teams coming or not, or like and the food grains are reaching or not. So I was sitting and discussing. Then ultimately one fine moment, one very old person, he ends up saying that he like, sir, why things have become so much difficult these days? Like what he was trying to say was that despite so much development and so much money being spent by the government, why our lives have become harder? So I re-inquired from him that, Baba, why you are saying like that? Then he said, okay, before 30-35 years, life was not so difficult. That led me to think quite a lot that why it is like that, that this particular old person is saying that like 30-35 years ago, they used to live more comfortably as compared to now. And this is the situation when the number of schemes would have become multifold. If there were 10 during those years, then there must be 100. Government is spending as against 10 rupees. Now government is spending 1000 rupees. Government is focusing quite a lot on these left out areas like the border districts and the other tribal areas or hilly regions. Then even then, why such kind of perception is there? So, but there were reasons for that. In this particular incident, what I made out finally was that there are certain things which are directly connected to the livelihood of the villagers or people. And in these kind of natural calamities, as I mentioned that, like whatever amount of money you spend in like in drinking water schemes or like for increasing agriculture production, but if agriculture production you cannot increase in the desert area, you cannot find new drinking water sources, you cannot dig new tube wells and you will get water for drinking purposes for that particular area. So there are always certain things on which livelihood is dependent, and it is very difficult, whatever amount of money you spend, to come out with reasonably good solutions. So a lot of rethinking needs to go into it, like finding local solutions to those problems. So like for drinking water problem in that particular village, the solution is not to think about like big drinking water supply schemes. We need to think local and find out sustainable solutions then and there. So how the community can be involved, how their ownership can be developed, then only such kind of problems can be resolved. Like certainly, but a lot of schools have come up, a lot of roads have come up, a lot of other local government offices have come up, like sub-health centers and animal husbandry centers and ICDS centers and food and civil supply centers. But there would always be few things which are directly related to livelihood, and reasonable and respectable life, but very difficult to handle even with good amount of money. So for that, community solutions have to be found. So I think that gave me a different kind of insight of what to focus more being in.